Good morning. Good morning, good morning. How is everyone? Good morning, George. It's Monday again. And it's the last week of the stitch along. So by Friday, we'll have all of this finished. Today, we're going to do 3 strands. Good morning. And we're going to fill in a couple of these viney type things. So these kind of bigger ones here. Not these really small ones that kind of pop out, but the bigger ones. Good morning, Sarah. So what I've done now is I'm just going to outline the ones that we're going to do. 3 strands and the satin stitch. So we only have the satin stitch for 2 more days, today and one other day. I initially chose the fishbone stitch for today, for these ones, but because we have some of them popping out like this here and then kind of down into here, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So what I'll do is show you the satin stitch for these to see how it looks. And then for maybe some of these other ones, I'll show you the fishbone stitch just in case you wanted to try it. Yeah? So what we'll do today is this one. I'm just going to outline it so that you can tell, because I know in the past, some people have done more than they were supposed to do. And it was on an accident, not just because they wanted to. So we have this one here, and then we have this kind of longer one here. And then this one here, I think there's only 4. Oops. One, two, oh, there's 5. And that one. I just find fishbone a little bit difficult when you have obstacles, if you know what I mean. So let's get started. How's everyone's weekend? Did we have a good time? Yesterday we went shopping for Christmas gifts. And then we went to a friend's house to watch some of the American football. And that was quite fun. So I'm just going to get started. I'm going to go from the banner down with a back stitch and then fill in each of these stitches. Fill in the stitches. Silly. Fill in each of the leaves. Okay. Now for these ones, I like to make long back stitches. You could also do like a stem stitch in the middle, if that's what you want to do. But for these, I think they look really nice when you do one big long stitch like that. So again, we're just using 3 strands. And for each of the leaves, we're just going to make parallel lines for each one. Now for the fishbone stitch that I'll show after this, it's a little bit different because you kind of overlap your stitches and it makes it look like little X's, almost like a braid. Yep, just one color for all 5. Keeping it simple today. You can use more strands if you want it to look a little bit chunkier, like the other leaves that we did. We're listening to the song that goes along with the pattern. Well, we were. Oh, good. A wonderful commercial. Ridiculous. And then we just go to this side. For these ones, you're just going to stop on the edge of here. Goodness gracious. Okay. I'm sorry, Hans. That was 4 minutes of commercials I just skipped. 1 of 4 for a total of 3 minutes, or 4 minutes and 11 seconds. What? I obviously need to put another stitch there because you can see there's a gap. Again, if you need to do the lines down the middle, then just go ahead and make all the lines there. I know sometimes I get a bit astray. Also, I smashed my thumb. And now I've got a little blood blister there. Is that what they're called? So these ones are quite easy peasy. They look really nice and sweet and delicate, which is nice sometimes. Sarah says, did you manage to buy all the gifts you wanted from your list yesterday? Yes, so we went Christmas shopping. I think I told you guys that I was gonna go Christmas shopping on Sunday. And oh, it was crazy at the shops. Like everyone was there already. Like obviously it being a Sunday, but man, it was nuts. But yeah, we got a couple things. Some things we're going to wait and buy in America. And then David would like me to make some of the gifts. So that's always a good one. To be making gifts when you're, pardon my French, but balls deep in orders for Christmas. Oh, but it was fun. We had a little coffee from Costa. And we got some gifts for my niece. some fun things for people back home. Okay, and because this is white here and we're not going to fill it in, and I'm a freak, I'm going to tie a knot here and then do that other leaf. Because I can't stand it. Thank you, Sarah. There's another Sarah. She says, this is so lovely. Oh, that's tightening it. As I'm twisting it, it's tightening it. I think I've broken it. There we go. I was like, oh my God, please don't break. Not today. Oh well. Okay, so after I do this one, I'll show you how to do it the fishbone way, just in case you want to choose which ones you want for which ones, if you know what I mean. Because we have 5 to do. You can kind of mix and match, and it makes it have like a bit more texture and like a little bit of another element of, ooh, how'd they do that one? Speaking of orders, you guys, the kits are almost cleaned out from this weekend. Like, I'm just blown away. So if you wanted the new Merry and Bright kits, I think there's 4 left. And if you wanted the Joy kit, I think there's 4 left of those as well. So that's crazy. Let's see, where am I going to do this? So I would not recommend doing it over here unless you want to make up the leaves for next time. Actually, I might just do that. Because you see this one goes behind, so you'd have to stitch on top without having the guide there if you did the fishbone stitch. So let's see. Yeah, I'll just do it there. I'll make it up. Sarah says, what is the type of fabric that I use? It's just 100% white cotton. You can use any kind of fabric that you fancy. I do not recommend any fabric with a stretch in it. So, as always, there's a couple ways to do the fishbone stitch. The fishbone stitch works like this. I've just got a spare piece of fabric over here, so I'm just going to draw it first. Yeah? So the fishbone stitch works like this. You can draw a little leaf. Okay? And imagine that there's a line down the middle. Good morning. And normally you do a stitch down the middle like this. And then the next stitch goes from here across here to the other side. Now, some people will do the whole thing, meaning so from here to here, then here to here, then here to here, and then make them like this the whole way. I tend to, can you tell what I'm doing? I tend to just do it on the other side of the line when I do it. So, for example, I'll do my first one down the middle, and then I almost kind of pretend that there's another line so that I'm not going all the way to the edge of the leaf. I'm just going to the other side of this middle line. So I'll go like this, then like this. Does that make sense? So you always kind of go one side, then the other side, and it has to cross this middle line. Because if you don't cross the middle line, then you're really just going like these ones. Yeah? You could have just done a satin stitch on each side. So you're going to cross, 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 cross. So let's begin. Oh, thank you. I used to be an art teacher, can you tell? Maybe that's why people say that when I explain them that they understand them a little bit better. So we'll do this big one first so that you can kind of see it better, and then we'll go up to the small one, kind of work our way smaller. Just real quick, I want to make this a whole leaf so that you can see it better. And if you have to make these a little bit, the leaves a little bit fatter, you can. They're also not pointy at the top, so keep that in mind too. So you might have to do a little bit of work at the top, meaning a couple straight stitches, and that's what I'll do. So I've just got three strands here, the same as before for our satin stitch. I've just got the 3 strands. Then we just cut off the extra little fuzzy bits on the end. Okay, and then just like I explained, we'll have a line. This is so hard because there's no place to rest my hand. There'll be a line down the middle, like that. Yeah? So I'm gonna start at the very top. And like I said, because these are a little bit rounded and they're not pointy at the top, we'll do a little bit of work on the top. So I'll just choose a little bit. You can make it as long or as short as you want to, this top bit. And I'll just do 3 little stitches, all going through the same hole. So this is the second one. This is the third one. Yeah, to make it round at the top. And then from here, I'll start going across. So we're just gonna end it on the other side of this line, yeah? Like I said, some people will go all the way down to the other side, and that's fine too if you feel more comfortable doing that. But for me, it works if you go to the other side of the line, and then that's it. There's a knot right behind there, of course. So you're gonna make these kind of almost like X's, yeah? So the next one, you come up here on the side. Excuse me. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Maybe you can see better. Yeah? And then over. Like I said, you kind of want to pretend or even draw a line there. So if I drew a line here, almost all of them will end on these lines. And the middle line is there. Yeah, so I was an art teacher in America for a little bit as a sub, and then I moved to China and was an art teacher in China. So I think the number one thing to remember this, other than the tips that I've told you already, is that these stitches here, they're going to be on an angle. So you also want to try to keep the angle almost the same. So like you don't want to make any that all of a sudden go this way or are too far down, or you'll end up getting gaps. So almost in the same way how we do the satin stitch, and I always say make sure that the lines are parallel, you almost want to make sure that these crossing lines on each side are parallel as well. Now, I think the stitch takes a bit more time than the satin stitch, only because you have to keep going back and forth, but it does make a really nice and interesting texture to your leaves that you don't really get with the satin stitch. So after I'm finished with this leaf, I'll zoom back out and you can see the one that I did before. And then you can see this one. And then for the stem down the middle, I just do the same as I did for the other one, which is long, straight back stitches. She says, I totally agree. I don't use satin stitch as much. I think it's nice to use a nice mix of all the stitches though. I mean, I think it's really easy to like get into a nice like routine with the stitches that you use and the stitches that you like. And it's easy to kind of get stuck into that, if you know what I mean. Like it's easy, I can do this, or I can use this one because it's easy. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just sometimes nice to use different stitches and to give a different kind of feeling, you know? So yeah, so there's the one. I told you I'd zoom out, so let's zoom out. So there's the one down there. And you can tell it almost looks like a braid, whereas this one over here is just much smoother. So it depends on what kind of look that you want. Yeah? I'm going to zoom in and do the other leaf. I keep wanting to call them petals. I don't know why. Which is why I'm like the other thing. So for this one, if you do want to do the fishbone stitch on this one, just keep in mind that these will be detached chain stitches, which are really easy to go on top of there. But just remember that there are 2.5 underneath this leaf that they're hiding. So don't, when we get to that day, make sure that you know. So I'll just do this one more time. We've got a line down the middle. And then I like to kind of do a line on each side, just in case you need it. And we'll do a really short little curved top here. Robin. Oh my, what is happening here? I think with embroidery, you get really good at untangling knots. Okay, so I've done my 3 at the top. You might need one more or you might need less. It just depends. If you want to make them pointy at the top, then don't do the 3 top stitches. Just do the one in the middle like I showed on the scrap fabric. Sarah says, my thread keeps knotting today too. Must be something in the air. You know what? I think so. I do think so. It's a Monday, It's testing us. It's like, are you going to get angry or are you just going to take a deep breath and untangle it and go about your day? Show it who's boss, Plus it's this whole like Mercury and retrograde thing, Everyone's... Everyone's about this Mercury in retrograde. Maybe it's like making everyone be a bit crazy, careless. The Monday thread test. If you can survive it, you will live to Tuesday. Or like if your embroidery can survive it, because you might want to light it on fire by the end. Oh dear. I know in the last stitch along, I kind of showed how you can, so if you can tell, we've kind of done the braid, the fishbone stitch, all the way almost to the very tip of this leaf. But if you make the first stitch longer, it will not make so many pleats or crosses so far up. So it just depends on how you want it to look. Some people just like the little crosses at the bottom because it kind of is like the best of both worlds, like a little bit of satin stitch and also a little bit of the fishbone stitch. Man, will you just stop? Luckily, I have to put together a lot of kits today, so it's not like a heavy stitching day. So after this, I'm done. The other thing I like about fishbone stitch is it leaves this really nice pattern on the back if you do it properly. And of course, the way that my leaves are, they're kind of like poking out behind one another. So I'm just going to add another one here and call that a day. So a big reason why your thread is getting twisted or knotted is because your thread is literally getting untwisted and twisting back on each other. So can you see that it's twisting and all my strands are almost untwisted? They're almost like 3 straight strands. So what you're gonna wanna do is leave your needle hang like that. And you can see that at the very end, my needle's spinning. It's because it's untwisting more. So the more that your thread becomes untwisted, you're gonna need to let it hang and kind of untwist itself. I'm not sure that makes any sense, to be honest, but I'm just gonna add a little stem at the bottom just to make it up. She says, I've just recently started my embroidery page. Any advice is how I can grow my page? The best advice I can give is to not copy other people. Like if someone's doing something that gets a lot of likes, don't do that. You need to be true to yourself and you need to make the things that you like to make, not just because you think they're popular. And yeah, just be true to yourself. Honestly, I think people will follow you for your artwork, but also people follow you because they like who you are as a person. So the things that you say and the things that you make and the things that you do, you know, people kind of, in a weird way, they kind of fall in love with that as well. So it's like a 2-part street. It's really difficult to not look at someone else and think, oh, they're doing such a great job. I could do that. Because yeah, you could do that. Anyone of us could copy someone else and do that. And that goes for anything, like the things that they talk about in their stories, or maybe like the games or quizzes that they might do. It's easy to just go to someone else's page and copy. But then like that means that you're not being like your true self. if that makes sense. So it's almost like you'll always have to keep that mask up of, you know, that's not really who I am, but I have to kind of put that show on because that's what I've shown to other people. So it's not really advice, to be honest, because be yourself is probably like the most cliche advice ever. But yeah. Okay. This one is behind. So let's see if I can't. Be yourself. Sarah claps and says, be yourself. She says, true. I don't know what your name is, but it's personalized by I. True, but it is good to be aware of it and remind myself. Yeah, it's a hard one because, like, you want to be successful and you want to, you know, have people look at your art or whatever it is that, you know, you want to do. So all I'm doing here is just tucking this one behind just on the end. And then I'll just make a tiny little leaf here. But let me tell you, it's 100 times harder to like pretend to be somebody that you're not and like keep that front up. I'm not 100% happy, but that's all right. The next one will be better. Now it's like all I can think about was that question. This is going to be the cutest little fishbone leaf. Oh my gosh. I want to try a fishbone leaf, but with 2 different colors. I think that'd be pretty, like every other one. Do I need another one here? I'm almost out of thread, so I'm kind of just like pushing my button. Just trying to see how far can I take it. Okay. So I'm gonna leave it at those 2 because I'm already at like 35 minutes. Let me tell you, doing these Instagram lives is really screwing up my screen time because it told me that I was on my phone, on my screen for like 5 hours a day. And it's because 30 minutes is uploading it, and then another hour or an hour and a half is uploading it to YouTube because you can't turn the screen off or it stops. So, man. Okay, so there's a little fishbone stitches, and you can tell they're kind of braided or plaited like that. And then here are the ones that are just the satin stitch. So these are a bit more smooth, I think, and these have a bit more texture. So what we'll do is we'll do 5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can choose for these 3 if you want to do a fishbone stitch, if you want to do the smooth satin stitch. It's up to you. And I've chosen 3363 for these ones. It's kind of like a light earthy green, you know? I don't know if it really lines up with the DMC colors, but someone asked if they could know the numbers. So I'm obliging. So yeah, I think that's it for me today. We'll do these 3. There are no more catch-up days because Friday is the very last day. So we've got today with these, shown 2 stitches. Then we have this one. I don't know if this is the order that we'll do, but this is the stitches we have left. So we have these 2 to do. Then we have these little baby ones. And then we have these kind of pine tree branches here. And then French knots. And then that's literally it. So we just have 4 more days left. Guys, I'm in denial. I might have a little something for December, though. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, how crazy I am. But yeah, that's it for me today. I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you had a lovely weekend. Don't let the thread win. If it's knotting, don't throw it away. You know, make sure that you tag me in your stories and on the grid so I can share as many as I can at the Barmy Fox and hashtag the Barmy Fox SAL. And I will speak with you tomorrow. Bye.